You know that feeling, right? That sinking feeling with the IELTS listening test when you just know you've lost easy marks? Well, we're going to tackle that frustration head on in this explainer. We're going to break down exactly how you can stop giving away points you totally deserve by focusing on two, well, surprisingly simple areas that make a huge difference. So, does this sound painfully familiar? You're in the zone, you're listening, you hear the answer, you jot it down feeling pretty good, but then you get your results back and that point is just gone. It is so frustrating, and believe me, it happens all the time. So what's the secret culprit here?
Well, allow me to introduce you. And it's probably not what you're thinking. It's not some complex grammar rule or a super obscure vocabulary word. Nope. Meet the two silent score killers of the IELTS listening section: simple spelling and basic numbers. They look so harmless, don't they? But they are absolutely designed to trip you up when you least expect it.
Okay, so why are we making such a big deal about these two things? Because here's the hard truth about the IELTS. Almost right is just another way of saying completely wrong. There is literally no room for error. The test is incredibly strict, and honestly, getting your head around that is the very first step to protecting your score. And this slide right here shows just how unforgiving those rules are. I like to call it the rule of zero. A single misspelled letter in a word, that's a zero for the whole question. Wrote down a number in the wrong format, zero. And oh, this one catches so many people out. You hear students, but you just write student, you guessed it, zero. The main takeaway here is brutal, but it's simple. There is absolutely no partial credit. It is all or nothing. Right? Let's zoom in on our first score killer, spelling. The IELTS test just loves to throw words at you that are tricky enough to make you second guess yourself, especially when you're under pressure. So let's break down the most common traps they set for you. And this table lays out the top 3 traps perfectly. First up, you've got your classic double-letter words, things like accommodation and address. One C or one S too few, and poof, the point's gone. Second, you have to watch out for that sneaky plural S. If the audio says students, you have got to write students. And finally, don't forget IELTS is often British-based, so you need to be ready for spellings like color and neighbor. Now here's a fantastic pro tip for you, especially if you're taking the paper-based test. If you're worried about your handwriting being a bit messy, or you're not sure about capitalization, there is a super simple fix. Write your answers in all caps. It just completely eliminates any doubt. It's simple, it's 100% allowed, and trust me, it is incredibly effective. All right, let's move on and tackle the second score killer, numbers. This is all about training your ear to become a bit of a detective, really, catching those tiny little differences in sound. And this is especially true when a speaker is talking fast or maybe has an accent you're not used to. And here it is, the absolute classic trap. The difference between numbers ending in teen and T. Okay, let's really listen to this. For 15, the stress is on the end. 15. Can you hear that long, stressed E sound? Now, let's contrast that with 50, where the stress is right at the beginning. 50. Let's do that again. 15. 50. That tiny little shift in emphasis, that's everything. That is the difference between getting the point and losing it. And the traps don't stop there. Oh no. You've got to be ready for distractors. So they might throw 2 different prices at you, maybe a full price and a discount price, just to see if you're listening for the actual answer.
You've also got to be flexible with things like date formats. And here's a big one for phone numbers. Listen for speakers saying "oh" instead of "0."
Okay, that's enough about the problems. Let's get into the solutions, shall we? How do we actually train ourselves to dodge all these traps? Well, this is your precision training toolkit. Everything you need to turn these weaknesses into your biggest strengths. For spelling, we're going to use a 3-step attack. First, just start with short dictation exercises. Listen, write, and then check every single letter. Second, become obsessed with your mistakes. Create a personal error list. Every single word you get wrong goes in a notebook. That notebook becomes your personal study guide. And third, and this one is really powerful, rewrite official transcripts by hand while you listen. It sounds so simple, but it is fantastic for building that crucial muscle memory.
And for numbers, we've got 3 targeted drills. First, you have to isolate the problem. You need to drill those tricky pairs like 1660 over and over again until hearing the difference becomes totally automatic. Then, you level up by practicing with audio that's just full of distractors. This trains your brain to filter out all that noise and lock onto the correct answer. Finally, get a friend to read you phone numbers at different speeds, just to sharpen your accuracy when you're under pressure.
I just love this quote from the source material. It sums everything up perfectly. It says, "Spelling and numbers are not small details. They are full marks hiding in tiny spaces." Just let that sink in for a second. Every correct letter, every right digit, that's not some small detail. It's a full point, just sitting there, waiting for you to claim it. So, how do you pull all of this practice together into something that works? Let's talk about the single most powerful habit you can build to systematically crush these errors and really boost your score. It is a total game changer, and it's called error logging. This is where you become a detective for your own mistakes. After every single practice test, don't just count up your score and move on. No, go back and analyze why each mistake happened. Tag the error. Was it a spelling mistake? A number you misheard? A plural S you missed? This log is going to show you your own personal pattern of mistakes, revealing exactly what you need to work on next. It is, by far, the smartest way to study. So really, it all comes down to a change in mindset. Right now, every time you make one of these small mistakes, you're basically donating a point that you worked really hard to earn. It is time to stop giving away your score. With the kind of focused practice we've just talked about, you can start claiming every single one of those points for yourself. And that brings us to the final and maybe the most important question. After everything we've covered, what is your biggest vulnerability right now? Is it those tricky double letters, or maybe it's the teen versus teen numbers? I want you to decide right now, which of these score killers are you going to target first in your very next practice session? Now go get those points.